What's up, everybody? Jude Allume back again with another episode of Knicks Digest. Thank you guys for tuning in. The Knicks just came off a Game 2 victory in their Eastern Conference semifinal match against the Heat. They take Game 2, 111-105. It was a very tightly contested game. Not happy about it at all. I mentioned it in the last episode that without Jimmy Butler, they should easily handle this Knicks team. It didn't happen that way at all. It didn't happen. It was a battle down to the bitter end. The Heat gave it everything they had. Quite frankly, the Heat looked like they were the team that were down 1-0. They were hungrier. If I'm being honest, they outplayed us really for the majority of this game. For 3 out of 4 quarters, and even some of that fourth quarter, they were outplaying us. And somehow we were able to escape there with a win. But make no mistakes about it. The Heat looked like a much better team, a much hungrier team, a team that was desperate and trying everything they could to get a W. Major props to Erik Spoelstra because he's a good coach and he for sure is going to get full effort, full hustle, and every bit of energy out of his guys, just like we saw in this game that just finished. And it breaks my heart because I'm like looking at the Knicks just hoping that they would match this energy, and it didn't happen. Quite frankly, for me, it shouldn't have been a close game. You know, it's just simple maths here, right? Last game, it was a close game. They were at full strength when they had Jimmy Butler. He was doing what he did. They came out with a victory, right? And it was a bad game for us. So in my mind, it's as simple as they don't have their best player. And we get our best player with Julius Randle coming back to the fold and having a really good game for us. So without their best player, with our best player, and we're hoping we're not going to have as bad a game as we did in the last game. Game 1, we were just terrible from 3, and shooting in general was just not that good. So I'm thinking we're going to come into this game and take care of business. Wasn't the case. Maybe they came in lethargic thinking, oh, well, there's no Jimmy, so we don't necessarily have to have our A game tonight because, again, no Jimmy Butler, and who's left on the Heat, right? It's a bunch of role players and guys who should be better than they actually are, a la Bam Adebayo. Outside of that, I'm sorry, but it's not a great Heat team, right? Well coached, gonna give you full effort, but it's not a great team. It's not a team that should be giving the Knicks fits, right? Plain and simple, they were hungry. They wanted it more, and the Knicks didn't. And again, the Knicks down 1-0. This is not the effort that I expected for them to come out with. But they did come out with a victory, so we won't sit here and harp on the negative too much. And you know what? For what it's worth, I'm pretty sure that how things played out as far as Jimmy Butler not playing affected them a little bit. You can go into a game planning. Jimmy Butler's going to be there. This is what we need to do to stop it. And this is what you're focusing on. And Jimmy, last minute, is announced he's not going to play. And yes, it's like, all right, well, their best weapon is not going to be there. But still, at the end of the day, you weren't really game planning for how you're going to stop them. And you don't really know who they're going to be turning to in the absence of Jimmy to kind of be their go-to scorer. There was no one individual person. The Heat were spreading out the ball. And really, it was great for them in a sense because they didn't have a go-to guy, so they were just really, really good as far as ball movement is concerned, and moving the rock until they got a really good, high-quality shot up. They did that for the majority of the game, and that is how they basically controlled this game up until the fourth quarter. And in addition to that, I'm sure the Knicks weren't expecting, well, maybe they should have, considering that everybody knows the Knicks want to attack the paint, and we shot so terribly from 3 in game 1, but they came out, the Heat did, in a 2-3 zone, and that kind of messed things up for the Knicks, I guess. It took them a little while before they adjusted to it, but it was like they wanted to make sure, like, we're always going to have somebody in that paint waiting for your penetration because we know that's what you want to do. We're not going to make it a free run to the basket at all. And that's just great coaching by Spoelstra, knowing what the Knicks do best and looking to take away from it, Unfortunately for the Knicks, again, another situation which, the in-game adjustments should be there to be like, hey, this is what we should do in order to, counteract whatever it is that they're doing to us that's giving us fits. And it just never comes, well, it did come, but it just came a little bit too late for my liking. Once you get punched in the face the first time, usually it's good enough for you to say, okay, let's switch things up so I don't get punched in the face. So it's 3/4 of getting punched in the face, in my opinion, before the Knicks said, all right, let's switch some things up so we can get in a better flow, both offensively and defensively. It was Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin. These were the guys that were giving us fits, and the Knicks have a tendency to do a lot of terrible things. Bad free throw shooting, bad 3-point shooting, bad defense on 3 points, and letting random obscure players every few games go off on us. And tonight we got a 2-for-1 special with the two guys I mentioned before, Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent, going off on us tonight, right? 22 and 21 points respectively for those two guys. And really, they had Miami in control of this game. But it was a full team effort too, like those two guys, they led Miami in scoring, but everybody was pitching in. Everybody was getting open shots. Everybody was taking advantage of these open shots. And it's just frustrating because, again, it's like, I don't know how many times I've said this as well, but the Knicks are supposed to be a good defensive team, and you're letting these guys just run amok on us. Like, how many times do you need to go under the screen and see that 3-ball go in before you say, okay, maybe I should stop going under and, go over, trail that guy so I'm not giving them an easy 3-point look. Miami's a pretty good 3-point shooting team, and they were taking advantage of that early in the first half. And again, the Knicks just weren't counteracting. They weren't adjusting. They weren't doing anything to kind of slow them down up until that second half. Second half, much better effort defensively. Really was the fourth quarter, in my opinion, that they turned up the intensity defensively and put themselves in a position to win. But more than what they did on the defensive end, I'd say you can credit this game to what Jalen Brunson was doing on that offensive end. We saw it in game 1. He didn't necessarily have the greatest of game, at least not from shooting the 3-point, 0 for 7 in game 1. But in this game, much better outcome, much better results. He goes into the second half, finishes with 23 points in that second half, finishes with 30 on the game. Much better game for Jalen Brunson, and just kind of, gives us more ammo to fuel that idea that he might be the most important player on this Knicks team. But again, the Knicks come away with the victory, but it's just so many causes for concern, right? Number one, Quickly, where are you, man? Like, Emmanuel Quickly, one of our more exciting, talented young players. And during the regular season, we saw that talent on full display. And he did things with the ball that you would think, he was a veteran, savvy veteran, or you would even think this is a guy that's on the cusp of superstardom, right? I get it. He's on a bench role. Most of the damage that he did, or most of the games where he really wowed us, he was starting. But even when he was coming off the bench, there were plenty of games where he put up decent numbers or even great numbers and, really helped the team to victory. I can't say he's necessarily been helping us to victory right now. Numbers are down across the board. Tonight only puts up, 6 points. We're going to need more out of Quick, but it's not just a Quick thing. It's an entire bench problem, right? 2 points in the first half from the bench. Terrible. For the game, they finished with 12 points. Terrible. We need way more from our bench than that. And I'll attribute it a little bit to it being a different second unit than what we're used to. Usually it's Josh Hart on that second unit and coming in with Quickly, with Obi, and with Hartenstein. So those 4 guys are usually the core of our second unit. And now Hart is in that starting unit. We bring Grimes back to the bench, and he's coming into that coming in with the second unit, and it worked in the series against Cleveland, right? Hart got put into that starting lineup once Quentin Grimes went down with a shoulder injury, and it kind of worked. Hart gave us a little boost. We were able to put the series away, but I'm not certain that that's what we should be sticking with. We should potentially look at going back to Hart coming in on the second unit and Quentin Grimes being a starter again. I say this because Grimes, he's not a score first kind of player, right? We used him for his defensive capabilities in that starting lineup, play against, whoever the best offensive player is on that opposing team. What he does do very well is shoot threes. It works for him being in that starting lineup because you're going to be focused on Randall, you're going to be focused on Barrett, you're going to be focused on Brunson. That leaves the very good three-point shooting Grimes open on a lot of three-point shots. So for him, it's like, it's not something he has to think about. It's not something that he's concerned with. I'm literally here playing D, and then they're focused on the other big three that we have. So when I do get the ball, I can just catch and shoot. Easy game for me. And it really works well with Josh Hart because he's one of the focal points of that second unit, right? And he always comes and gives the energy and gives the boost. He pushes the rock, and he sets us up, puts us in favorable positions to score easy baskets with that second unit. So I think it's definitely something the Knicks should consider to switch those two back and at least see what the results would be, because right now I'm not really liking the second unit. I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding. I just gave you the numbers. 12 points on the night, 2 points in that first half. It's not good. It's not good, obviously, for your starting unit if they need to come up with the majority of the points, with like 90+% of your points. We need that sixth guy. We need our sixth man quickly, more you than the rest of the guys, but we need quickly to go back to the form that he had at the end of the season, or most of the second half of the regular season. And yet another cause for concern. Not the worst of nights tonight as far as free throw shots, but this has been a point of emphasis. It should be a point of emphasis, but a point of concern for the Knicks all season. I mentioned it already, but the free throw shooting, 70%. And honestly, it was worse than that, but I guess they picked it up a little bit in the second half and, started making a little bit more. But 70% is not good. They're shooting 73% from the free throw line in the playoffs, and I don't think I need to tell you, but that's the worst of all the teams remaining in the playoffs. You have to hit your free throws, plain and simple. Like, I need the Knicks to hit their free throws. Like, these are points that you're just throwing away, basically. Another cause for concern for me, the rotations that Thibodeau has at times. It's head scratching, because let's take RJ Barrett, for example. So RJ Barrett, this game came out in the first quarter, 16 points, he's hot. Second quarter, they're not going to him. Third quarter, they're not going to him. Fourth quarter, I don't think RJ played at all in the fourth quarter. Excuse me if I'm wrong, but I know for sure when it was crunch time and it was really tight and it's a possession game and it's one possession lead tie, RJ was not on the floor. And I would even go as far as saying the last 5 games, he might have been our most consistent player as far as, just being available, number one. And 2, I don't know what it is that clicked, but something's clicked for RJ and he's putting up those 20+ points. And it's efficient, it's not RJ putting up 20 points on 25 shots, right? It's RJ putting up 20+ points on 50+% from the field. And you know what? As I have to give him his props, because as many times as I've called him out and said I don't want to see RJ shooting threes, tonight he comes out 5 of 9 from 3-point and, gives us a big boost, really helps us, come out to that early lead in that first quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, for us to not go to him at all is mind-boggling. This is kind of what it was during the regular season, so I kind of get an idea of why you do that. But during the regular season, it was also RJ, we don't know what we're going to get from him tonight, so it's kind of a, wait and see how it goes approach. But in these postseason, RJ has been playing some really good basketball, so for him to not play in the fourth quarter, mind-boggling. But for him to not play in favor of Quentin Grimes, who again, he was the starter, but he was injured, and now they're kind of, I guess, warming him back up, or maybe this is the starting unit Tibbs wants to run with. Whatever the case may be. Point being, in the fourth quarter, he went with Quentin Grimes, who really wasn't giving us much offensively. So it didn't make sense to me to have Grimes out there as opposed to RJ Barrett, who could have gave us a lot more on that offensive end of the floor. Another example from this last game was, his use of Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein. So Hart, he's going to give us a lot more than Mitchell Robinson when it comes to passing the ball and at the free throw line. Whereas Mitch, he's going to give us a lot better defense in the paint, and I would say he's a better rebounder than Hartenstein. I'm not saying Hartenstein can't rebound. He's a more than capable and willing rebounder, but Mitchell is just better at it than Hartenstein, in my honest opinion. So in that fourth quarter, again, crunch time, right? We need that rim protection. We need the guy who's going to snag up the rebounds, and it wasn't Mitchell Robinson that was in there. It was Hartenstein. So the other reason why I would have preferred to see Mitch in there is that Hartenstein, for all that he does well, his offensive game leaves a lot of room for desire, right? So I've seen him literally at the basket, shot is there, opportunity is there, and instead he chooses to make an additional pass. Sometimes it works, a lot of times it doesn't, but I'm of the mindset, if I've got an easy open two right there, I'm gonna take it. But that's not Hart, that's not his game. I don't blame him for it, but also sometimes it is frustrating because we could just use the 2 points that you're passing up. And vice versa as well, because I don't know the exact amount of time on the clock, but the Knicks were up, time's running down, and it's definitely a situation where we're looking to foul players now. And you leave Mitch in those instances when Mitch is a much worse free throw shooter. So it's just the rotations for Tibbs sometimes is just really frustrating. Tonight was another scenario in which was frustrating as far as leaving RJ out in the fourth and leaving Mitch on the floor when it was clearly we're going to foul you time, and leaving Hartenstein out on the floor when, we probably could have used a more capable scorer and rim protector and rebounder, a better rebounder in Mitchell Robinson. But with all these things going wrong, thank you, Jalen Brunson, because you still helped us find a way to come out of here with a victory. Good to see Julius back out there. Clearly, he was missed. He had a huge impact on tonight's game. Finishes with 25 points. Came out, set the tone early, 10 points in that first quarter. Him and RJ taking turns just kind of going off, right? Hopefully, we can keep this going because it was kind of an efficient night. 3 of 9 from 3, not the best of percentages, but better than a lot of games I've seen out of Julius as well, so I'm not too mad at it. But again, hopefully we can just keep him healthy, keep him playing, and sooner than later he's back to being the Julius that we know. And yes, the 25 points is good, the efficiency is good. Hopefully we can just keep it at that level and possibly better. But Knicks are going to have a good long little break now, 3 nights off. They won't play again until Saturday. They're going to be headed to Miami for Game 3, and more than likely, I will see you guys then. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. I appreciate you, but for now, this has been Knicks Digest. Enjoy.